Subtle skills, big results.
Welcome to the Ninja Selling Podcast.
Hey everyone, it's your good friend Eric Thompson. This is the Ninja Selling Podcast. Thank you so much for engaging. Thanks so much for listening. We appreciate you being here. You guys, today I'm here with an extra special guest. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Georgia Pinto. She is an incredible ninja who's here to give you some takeaways about her business, about her life, to help you out. Georgia, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Eric, and hello, ninjas.
All right. Yes, hello, ninjas. Georgia, I'm so thrilled that you're here. I'm so honored. Thank you so much. I've had the great chance to spend some time with you in person. You were here back a few months ago for Ninja Now, which is a brand new 2-day workshop. And we got to spend time together in the class, and then a handful of us went out for happy hour afterwards. And Georgia, one of the many things I appreciate about you, you are always up, you are always smiling, you are always in that high positive state. And I so appreciate that about you, and I appreciate you being committed to Ninja.
Oh, thank you so much. And one of the reasons I was really happy that night was, remember, a few people and we went to Buc-ee's for the first time.
Yes, right. Right. So those of you that live in the part of the world, in the part of the country that has the Buc-ee's convenience stores, it's kind of a big deal because here in Northern Colorado, we got our first Buc-ee's back a few months ago. Georgia, you went with one or two other ninjas, if I remember, to the Buc-ee's because you wanted to go check it out. So
Yes, and it was a brand new one. So I hear, they're known for having really clean bathrooms, which is kind of funny for a big place like that. But we did check out the bathroom situation, and I can't remember how many gas pumps there were, but
it's a
it was
lot.
just like over the top. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah,
it was really
amazing.
cool. Not the highlight of my trip. Ninja Now was the highlight of my trip, but Buc-ee's was, a lot of fun.
Okay, we're going to call this podcast A Servant's Heart. Because Georgia, one thing I know about you is that you have a servant's heart. I also appreciate that you're a ninja coaching client, and Lisa Connors is your coach, and we're really grateful for that. And I tell you, we're also grateful to be talking to you right now because Georgia, you live and work and serve in Southwest Florida. You have been dealing with, you and your community, you've been dealing with hurricanes. And so I think that's an appropriate place to start because we are more than curious. We're curious, and we care about you and care about the other ninjas there, and just care about those communities. So tell us kind of what's happening, soon after the hurricanes, and also how you're responding to that.
Absolutely. Well, a lot, leads up to the hurricane. You're wondering, okay, that's like a 20%, I don't remember what they call it, I think interest or something. And then they start to grow, and then they start to build. And then, all you're seeing in your Facebook feeds and social media is all this stuff about, hypermania, hurricane stuff. But like the day of the hurricane, when it hit, I can say for my family, we never lost power. And a lot of you guys probably heard about it was more tornadoes, I think, on record in a certain span of time than any other hurricane brought about. But as far as like what we do, and I say we, it's a family. I mean, my sons are 16 and 19, and my husband, they, went around to the neighbors directly, and they were helping them put up hurricane shutters or plywood. And then my oldest son, who I just referred to, he's 19, his name's Ramon. He has his real estate license as well. We went to a couple of our customers and out of town friends. We went to their homes, people who weren't here, and we brought in their lanai furniture for them. So that's all like what happens ahead of the hurricane, right? And then as soon as the hurricane hits, or during it, you're calling and texting people and seeing how they're doing. If you've lost power, which I said we didn't, that a lot of people who don't have power, or they've had transformers blowing and their power's been going off and on, it's hard for them to really understand like what's happening, to their community or around them. And a lot of them, they get flooded, so they're not able to get out for a little while. But like with my brokerage, and I'm part of the Veterans of Foreign War Auxiliary, like we have a meeting tonight, but we all have constant communications. My church, different groups that I'm a part of, we've just been able to find out what people need and get that to them, whether it's food or toilet paper or paper towels. And some people just need money, or they might need a car, and you find a way to find that. Or we've found some beds for people, bedding. It's really a wide range, but it really does hit so close to home when it's your friends, elderly parents, or it's a coworker of yours. I was a teacher for 21 years, so it might be some families who I served. It's a great time to be able to step up and to help. I shouldn't say it's a great time, but it's a time where many need you. And so you can't just go on like as life as normal just because like you and your family are okay. It's a great time to be able to look around and assess and to help others.
Yeah. Well, you're being a ninja, and it's
Yes.
so it just warms my heart, and I'm sure warms other people's heart to hear how you and others are stepping up to help out. It's kind of funny that here we are recording this a week after we were supposed to record it. So we had in our calendar to record this podcast, and we both agreed that you know what, why don't we get the hurricane behind us. And so the community is on the mend, and you're seeing a great chance to just help out, just reach out, check in on people. Tell us some of the things you're doing as a way to stay connected with the people in your sphere and your database, and looking for ways that you might be able to help them, and looking for things that they might need.
Sure. So, when you call somebody and they're waiting for like an electrician or a plumber to come out, and somebody's been a no-show, I've been offering, a lot of times I'll call that tradesperson and ask them how they're doing. And I'll try to, recommend 3 different people for trade to people. It's just been a great way to be able to connect people to other people in my sphere. As far as like checking on people's properties, we've taken pictures and sent those to them. If it's somewhere where maybe I can get to physically right away, talking to different people in my brokerage or talking to people who I know live in a different area, they could snap a quick photo of a community where somebody's interested in knowing more about it. And that just helps them, get to sleep better if they're up in Boston or Chicago or what have you, and to know that everything is going to be okay. I feel like, living in fear is never a good thing. And so even going into the hurricane week, if you will, like on my weekly agenda, the Sunday before the hurricane, when it said something to the effect of, how can I improve this week? I had put down for my, for myself, because Lisa always says it's not for her, it's for me, which is true. But I had put for my coach and I to read that to keep a positive mindset. So that's really huge. And, when you're calling people to reach out, kind of to reframe what they're saying and restate it and say, okay, it sounds like you could use some help. Would this be okay if I, helped you in this way? Or what I'm hearing you say is this, and then just try to figure it out to get to the root of the problem. And also just to realize that a lot of people need to vent, and it's really heavy. And sometimes the hurricane is like the thing that can really, and the situation around the hurricane can really be the thing that really ruffles their feathers, isn't probably the right terminology I'm looking for here, but it can really make or break them, like the way that Hurricane Ian affected them 2 years ago. Now, if they're going through the same thing, and some of them have just rebuilt and gotten back into their homes and, dealt with all the FEMA stuff. And now they're looking at doing it again if their house got destroyed or ruined in a bad way.
Yeah.
So I think being there for people, and you stress this a lot. I know I've seen in your trainings and on podcasts I've listened to of yours, asking them like what more you can do and learning more about it. And that, I think, saying, would it be helpful if, I know when you were introducing the Ford and Record challenge, that's just become part of my vocabulary now. I think it's so important. You don't want to infringe, and people appreciate when you're coming from a place of care, but we can't fix the situation for them, right? But acknowledging it is really important.
Yeah. Well, again, you're just being a great ninja. You are asking great questions. You're giving them the space to answer, and you're being a great listener. You're looking for opportunities to help. And you're modeling for them what a positive mindset looks like, because they certainly they need that right now for sure. Well, again, bravo to the work that you're doing to help your community mend, and we're so glad to hear that it's on the mend. Tell us, Georgia, speaking of you being a ninja, you're clearly a ninja. Tell us your ninja story.
Thank you. All right. Well, I had to go back and look at some dates here, and it's kind of funny what I'm going to tell you. But so my sister, Sally Kerner, she is a ninja up in Williamsburg, Virginia. And she went to her first installation with the wonderful Peter Parneg. She's part of Liz Moore and Associates in Williamsburg. And that April, so the next month, we went on a trip with my mom. I flew up to Richmond, Virginia, and they picked me up. And I think the first day we just made it somewhere in Kentucky. But not too long into the trip, I was sitting in the back seat and she said, "Look at this manual." And she had the Ninja Selling book, the Go Giver, and the installation. Do you call it the guide?
Just the installation manual.
Yes, the workbook. Yeah, the manual. And I was looking back today because I knew I'm a screenshot girl. I knew I'd made screenshots or taken pictures. And it's like Louisville, Lexington, like all these different cities from where I had taken pictures of from her manual. So I kind of consider like a soft launch in the Ninja was in March of 2022 for me, or April, following in my sister's path. And she gets full credit for introducing Ninja to me. But then about 11 months later, I landed, I think it was like in Norfolk, not Richmond, but Norfolk. My mom picked me up and she said, "What are you doing tomorrow? Sally's got that ninja thing going on." And Peter was back for like a 1-day refresh. And come to find out, I called my sister and she said, "Well, we're like full to the gills." But her broker, Liz, made a space for me. And I got to do like this 1-day ninja thing. And it was amazing. It was like their refresh. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. And so I had it on in my mind and had it on my heart that I was going to be more than just like a ninja name only, and I was going to go to my first installation. But then I found out that it was very hard to find a nearby public installation. So I mentioned to my sister, I think like in December of 2023, I said, "Do you think there would be any way, I see it's on the calendar, that I could be included in your closed Liz Moore installation?" And she asked Liz, and Liz said, absolutely, right on the spot, that I could go.
Wow.
And so it was awesome because it was also my mom's birthday month. So I was able to be up in Williamsburg, Virginia. I had the awesome Chandra Hall as my guide. And I was there it's just crazy looking back at my journey, Eric, because like I feel like I've been a ninja for a really long time. And when I tell you, like I was on that road trip in the back seat, like looking at the Go Giver, and by the way, bought the Go Giver and the Ninja selling book, like right then, like went to Amazon and got those books. I feel so blessed because 2024 has brought so much into my life. What I was thinking in December last year is that if I couldn't get to an installation here in Florida and not knowing, like before I asked my sister if I could go to the one in Virginia, then I was going to just have to go out to Fort Collins. And then, fast forward to August, I was out there as a coaching client and getting to attend the Ninja now. So my life has just really just been full of so many blessings. I owe so much of it to Ninja.
Well, it's just amazing, Georgia, to hear you talk about the timeline, because this is really not that long, really, that you've been a part of Ninja, even introduced to Ninja. Yet you act like and talk like someone who's been involved in Ninja for decades. Ninja just celebrated its 30th birthday, so you've certainly adopted it quickly. And yeah, you were a ninja long, well before you knew you were a ninja, right?
Well, right. And that's what, like, my sister was telling us some of the highlights. And unfortunately, we had lost my dad in August of 21. So when she went to the installation, March of 2022, that was her first installation, and then telling us about it in April, my mom and I were just like, well, that's, called doing the right thing. Like, but that's the thing is like with Ninja, we're doers. We're not just thinkers, but we're doers. And that's the thing is like with the accountability. And I feel like with the coaching, it just takes it to a next step. And then when you're filling your Facebook friends and you're seeing all this positivity in your news feed of people doing really amazing things out there and just being awesome, it just wants you to be more awesome, makes you want to be more awesome and, help other people.
Yeah, that's the power of the Ninja Nation, right?
Exactly. 100%.
For how long have you been coaching?
So I knew at the end of the installation when Chandra made like a little, I don't really want to say plug, but like presentation and was like, this is what you can do. You can, call in and get like a free call, a little coaching session or just like kind of get your feet wet. Do you know, I started the day after Easter and my husband's birthday was on April 8th this year. So I started, I think by meaning that I interviewed, but by mid-April, I was already hooked up with Lisa, which was kind of funny because when you call and you talk to somebody, they're like, what kind of style do you want? And I was like, well, like fun, but like someone who's going to like, keep me, motivated and, and I'm coachable but fun, like nice, which I tell ninjas are nice, but we're just a really great match. And she has an awesome Facebook group for just her coaching clients. And it was so fun out at, Ninja Now to get to meet her in person. And a lot of her coaching clients were there. It's really amazing how aligned you can become, with other people in a short amount of time.
Yeah, I tell you, it's just all about the power of community, right? And I think a takeaway for everyone is be really mindful about who you're surrounding yourself with, and be very, very intentional about either joining a group or creating a group like this. I mean, get around people, ideally other ninjas who are on the same path, same values, same end in mind, committed to doing great things and committed to mastery and committed to helping each other out. So what do you think, as you look back today and look back to when you started coaching, what do you think has been any difference either in your mindset, your skill set, actions? And I'm looking for things that really anyone could apply to their business, but what's changed in any of those categories for you after you started coaching?
So I once read, and I don't know where I read it, but that you are true to yourself and you do the things that you say that you're going to do, or, you at least tell yourself, you don't have to say it out loud, but you write it down or whatever, that really helps to build self-confidence. And, it shows a lot of integrity. And I think it goes back to what I mentioned earlier, that I've become so much more of a doer than a thinker.
Mm.
So it's really important for me. Most of what I consume are personal development podcasts and books. But I feel like the mind is only as good as like the body is. So, part of being a ninja is moving your body. And I think that's really important, is to time block and to allow yourself to like pour into yourself as well, because it's like the oxygen mask analogy. You can't help others unless you're working on yourself. And like every day, if we just take a little step to making ourselves better, we're going to be able to show up better for others and be able to do more. So I think the biggest difference in my mindset has been in not just like thinking or kind of wondering sometimes to myself. I've been listening and tapping into my self-talk a little bit more also, and thinking about the way that I perceive myself. Because it's funny, sometimes Lisa will say, well, you don't really seem to be distracted, or you might know this already, like to put your phone on focus or to do this or that. And I thought, wow, I might be like appearing a little bit better to her than I really am, because I kind of struggle with that. But it's interesting because the way that we perceive ourselves is probably a lot more critical, we are of ourselves than others might perceive us. And sometimes it might be the different way, but.
Okay, so it sounds like you've become even more of a doer. I think you're a doer by nature, but you've committed to take even more action. Sometimes it's easy just to contemplate things and say, well, yeah, I might do this or might do that, but you're committing to action.
Right. And it's like, okay, I'm going to do this and it's going to be at this time. And if I erase it from my planner or I slide it on my phone, on my calendar, like it still has to it has to happen. And then if it's not today, I need to reschedule it.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. So your actions are causing a really good year for you. You are, if I have this right, you're sitting here middle of October with just under 10 million of volume closed. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, bravo. Congratulations. And I'm guessing potential for more yet to come even this year.
Absolutely. And something that's really exciting is from my very first installation. I have a closing tomorrow. The granddaughter referred me. So she's a ninja and her grandparents have passed away. So some of her aunts are selling the coach home here in Naples. And I was chosen. They had it listed with someone else and she had met me at the installation. She was like, we're kind of thinking about hiring somebody else. And I wasn't looking at the sign-in form, but I was. And I noticed you're Sally's sister too, and you rock and you're from Naples. And yeah, so that's really exciting. That's going to put me right at 9.9 tomorrow.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Terrific year. And so what we are curious about, Georgia, is you think about 2024, walk us through specifically what you see really working for you in your business this year.
Sure. So I think it all goes back to time blocking. I love open houses. That's been in the past a really great way for me to meet people and then to sometimes do a two-peat or three-peat business from the people that I meet at open houses. But now that I'm dove so much more into Ninja and I'm learning the right way to do it, it's been a lot of fun to be able to, to have a reason to go out. And I'm a tea drinker, but we'll still just say coffee to make it easy. But like to go out to coffee or, we have our beautiful beaches here. So a lot of times I'll meet people for a beach walk. It's just a way to, I guess, to kind of get creative about doing the important things for your business. Of course, I have the check boxes on my weekly agenda that need to be checked off only if I've done them. And they don't all get checked off every week, but most of the time they do. But it's, writing the gratitudes and writing the affirmations, which really did happen to me. I know Lisa shared in a coaching meeting once in March of this year, my affirmation had been, and it had been from my installation in March, I'd been writing it 25 times a day, was that I was going to close 4 transactions in a month. And it happened to me in May.
Yes. Yes.
I know. I was like, this stuff works.
This stuff works, it turns out.
Yes. Yes. So, I think it's just like looking at like whatever my guiding principles are, make a difference in the lives of individuals I serve. How am I going to be able to do this year with the buyer broker agreement changes and everything? And I know it's different in different states. Like Florida, we really felt a ripple. We didn't use them, many of us, before August 17th, but I went and I finished my GRI, and right now I'm studying for my broker's license. I got the ABR and the SRS. Like there were a lot of different designations I got. And I did my first installation and I went to Ninja now. So I feel like, again, it's like when you know more, you can do more, right? And you can do better. And that's what I've just really made 2024 out to be. I've really been on a mission to improve myself and help improve those I serve, the caliber of the business that I'm able to give.
I'm thinking about that saying, sharpen your saw. You've really committed this year to sharpen your saw and really sharpen up your skills. Yeah, Stephen Covey. Stephen Covey, one of the greats. And so that's working for you and really committing to your time blocking. So it's one thing to put in the calendar. It's a whole nother thing to actually follow through and do it. So you are committed to that and following through and doing that. One thing you're doing that I know about you, Georgia, is that you are doing your 50 live interviews. And so I want to talk more about this. I want to unpack this because this tends to be sometimes a challenge for some ninjas. Some ninjas hear 50 and they think, oh my goodness, how could I ever get to 50? Some ninjas are good about getting to 20 or 30 or 40, and they maybe find it to be a challenge to get all the way to 50. They don't have the time. They feel like they run out of people to talk to. All those things we hear about.
Hmm.
And you're someone who has solved this, at least from my perspective. Some evidence of that, Georgia, is that you were part of a group here recently that was invited into a 50 live forward and record challenge. We ran it for 3 weeks. And what people had to do is they had to have 50 live interviews in a week. They had to turn in the sheets from their planner to show that they did do those 50 live interviews. And then those that did do it for 3 weeks in a row, their names went into a drawing, and guess what? You were the winner. So you, yeah, so you committed to those 3 weeks, and it's fun when I talked to Lisa Connors, your coach, about this. She says, "Oh, I mean, pretty much every week, she is getting those 50 live interviews done." So I have some questions for you related to this. All right, I'm sure that are on people's mind. First of all, let's talk about results because I think that can motivate people for them to get out and do their 50 live interviews. As you think about the challenge that we did, the 50 live forward and record challenge, can you point to any specific outcomes from that, even if it was additions to your warm list?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell us about any of those.
So, for example, I called somebody named Bill, and he was saying, nothing's really changed for me, but my in laws want to sell. And so then, it's just like an addition to your warm or your hot list. I have a really special couple who I visited probably about 4 months ago, and we had looked at some places, and they had said, well, we're just going to improve our place a little bit. Well, during the Ford and Record challenge, I had reached out to them, and the wife said, well, Bob's going to be down in Naples. Would you want to show him a few places? I said, of course, but I thought you guys were kind of set on staying where you were, not trying to like deter them from doing business with me. But she said, yeah, but we're really thinking more about getting on a first floor. So it's like what you were saying when you were doing the training and kind of the hype session before the Ford and Record is like all that listening for change. And then, me following up with and saying, well, would it be helpful if I found something on the second floor that had an elevator, would you consider that? Kind of things like that. I did have some really good conversations with people about buyer broker agreements. And something I know that I shared with Lisa, I had heard this somewhere, and it was probably on the Ninja Selling Podcast Facebook page. It was something to the extent to say, hey, Eric, has anyone taken the time to educate you regarding the recent changes about buyer representation? And then to follow up and say, my job is to help my clients get what they want for what they want, and just to go over the value clarification a bit then on the phone. But then I followed it up with sending the buyer broker agreement. And that woman I'm referring to, Judith, she's actually a Canadian gal, and she'll be in next week and has already signed the buyer broker agreement.
Got it.
So, yeah, little things like hearing from one of my past buyers. Their daughter was in my class a few years ago. I was a teacher for 21 years. I just retired in June of 2021, but got my real estate license in 2018. But this gal, Lisa, just got a promotion from assistant manager to manager. So when you say like, I did a good job with my calls, I really appreciate that. But I think the calls are one thing, but it's what you do with that information, putting it in your CRM, sending notes, setting up searches on MLS, sending the buyer broker agreements. I'm going to be doing some pop buys in the next couple weeks with some pumpkins. And I was just thinking the other day, because I always need an excuse to go to Home Goods, right? Or TJ Maxx, but I can get like maybe some dish towels with like gratitude on them, or turkeys or pumpkins. And, we try to make things as fallish as we can down here in Florida.
Sure.
Leaves. But, just some little things. You don't really have to spend a lot, but it is really so nice to be thought of and, to drop something off. One lady, when I called, she said, I'll actually see her tonight. She's at the VFW, but she's like, oh, my hairdresser is thinking of selling, and I gave her your number. But I've noticed, sometimes that's not enough. So I said, well, let me get your hairdresser's number, so I can reach out to your hairdresser.
Right. Right. So in just a few weeks of doing this, you have several additions, it sounds like, to a warm list. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I got a lot of clarity from my calls too,
Yeah.
because obviously there were so many more calls that were made than the 150 that I recorded. Those are just the ones that I was able to forward and record. But I really appreciated the education you gave us with the types of calls to make, those 5 C's, and then the examples, because, where some of us might think, oh, I'm just going to go and look on Facebook or, my memory, if it serves me well, for like home anniversaries or birthdays, but there's so much more out there to be sending notes about. Unfortunately, sympathy cards, or something, but that really means a lot. And I know, having gone through that, losing my dad, when somebody takes the time to send you a card like that, even if they didn't know your loved one, super nice, just very thoughtful.
So would you say most weeks you are having 50 live interviews?
Absolutely, because they don't have to just be phone calls. Tonight easily I'll talk to at least 5 people. I get there a little bit early. The meeting starts at 7, and then we'll stay a little bit after also.
Okay, so Georgia, kind of a combined question. What is your method? How do you get this done? And also, what would you say to the person who says, "Well, I'm going to run out of names," or "Boy, 50 sure seems like a lot." So, like all those questions in one, if you could help us with that.
Sure. So I think it's really important to look at your week. Every week is different, for many of us. But again, if we're able to do certain things, and gosh knows, a lot of us, speaking for myself, we have time to scroll Facebook. So like, you definitely have time to be like extracting some information from Facebook. But I would say to put yourself in situations. I know, as a Ninja coaching client, like, one thing that's been really good for me is to make sure that I'm getting in front of like 2 people a week at least, for like a coffee or a lunch, or like I mentioned, like a beach walk. I'm also a member of the botanical gardens. And so a lot of times when I'll meet with people or I'll talk to them on the phone, I'll ask if they've been there. And I have a membership so I can bring people at no extra cost. And so I'll ask them if they'd like to go. But I try to take good notes. Sometimes that's just like, if I don't have my forward and record with me, I'll write something or put it in my notes on my phone. But then ultimately it needs to get more at length in my CRM, but it also has to go on my forward and record. And it helps me. And I love stationery and pens, but I love to like highlight things. So sometimes I'll color code, like, yellow needs a note, or green set up a time to meet. We have a lot of transient people here. So people are starting to come back into town, our beloved snowbirds. We're seeing the car carriers come and, bring the cars. And some of my forward and record was, well, let's get together when you get here. I can't wait to see you, and let's go try out this new acai bowl place. Or, you've got to, see the Christmas lights this year at the botanical gardens. I'd love to invite you to that. I think the big thing is, they say like the fortune is in the follow up, is being very like authentic and coming from a place of care and concern, but just following up. Like, if you say you're going to do something, do it, but making it more about them. And like, when you pick up the phone or you're going into somewhere to meet somebody, like, make it about them, oh, you said that you were going to be making that trip, or I saw your cruise pictures. I would love to hear more, about that Beauty and the Beast show, or, whatever. What was that like on the ship, or what have you?
Yeah, and the way to do it, you mentioned before, is to be really intentional about the question, what did I learn? And you knowing that you're going to record that. Not only will I record the name, but I also am going to record, what did I learn? So in the conversation, you're very much focused on them, and okay, so what am I learning from this person? So that helps you to have even better conversations.
Well, and this might be like helpful for some. So sometimes, because you can tell I'm a talker, and I'm an extrovert, I love to talk, but I do love to listen and I love to learn. But I think it's important when you're talking to be thinking to yourself, am I learning more about them, or are they learning more about me? And if they're learning more about you, and how your business is and all of this, then you have to turn the conversation. You just have to find a way to be able to to flip the script. Sometimes people will want to know, like, especially like out of town people, they will want to know, like, oh, how is this going with your business, or how are things? But I just try to keep that short, and then I'll flip it right back onto them, because it's very important. Because I mean, you hit the nail on the head. If you're not able to write anything down of what you learned, then how can you get an action item from there?
Right. Right. It's impossible. Yeah. So that's when it's time to ask a question. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, Georgia, you've given us so much value today, so much inspiration. Anything else that you want to share? This is your chance. You're speaking to the whole Ninja Nation
Oh
right
my
right
goodness.
now. No pressure or anything, but
I would say that if you have not signed up or, researched into attending an installation, put it on your calendar. You could even do one before the year's end, but get to a Ninja installation. I was on that road trip back in April of 2022. We were on the way to Iowa, by the way, if anybody was wondering. So Virginia to Iowa. But I was looking at the Go Giver and all the Ninja selling book and the Ninja manual. To even think that from March of 2022 to where I am now, I didn't think that, like, it was unfathomable, and I just didn't know. And it's brought so much good into my life, both by who I've been able to serve and by what I've been able to do. Because I think sometimes we think when we're going to help somebody, like, oh, it's going to cost a lot of money or it's going to cost a lot of time, but neither one of those things are true when you can tap into your network and to having the right heart and the right frame of mind. You can make it happen, and it can become so much bigger than if you were just trying to do it alone. So I think it's amazing if when you're a part of, and you had hit on that earlier, Eric, about being a part of the group. Like, I'm just so amazed with the caliber and the quality of people in Ninja Nation, and like meeting everybody in person in Fort Collins it was like mind blowing. Like, I had to pinch myself on the way out there. And then, and remember, on the way out there, I almost didn't get there on time because there was another hurricane at the time.
that's right. I'd
I
forgotten
don't
about that.
remember which one that was, if that was Debbie or not. But yeah, so my husband had to drive me up to Tampa because the airport and my flight out of Fort Myers had just, canceled that day. But I found a way. And, I think that's maybe what I want to leave people with, is find a way. Like, I love Ed Milet's book, The Power of One More, and like, find a way to call one more. Or if you're at 45 and you want to get to 50 on Sunday, are you hosting open houses? Are you going to networking events? Like, what are you doing? What's one more thing you can do? And if you can't get to that 50, or even if you just want to reach out to me anytime, I would love some new Facebook friends, some ninjas. So if anybody ever wants to follow up with me, I'd be happy to talk more about that.
Thank you for that offer. Thank you for that offer. Yeah. Everyone look her up. It's Georgia Pinto in Southwest Florida. Georgia, you have a servant's heart. And I'm so grateful for this time together. So grateful for you and everything that you shared. So much value. Georgia mentioned Ninja installations. Of course, you can find out all about those on our website, ninjaselling.com. Go to events and you can see installation information. You can also see coaching information if you want to know more about coaching. And you too can become a coaching client just like Georgia. Georgia, thank you again so much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for listening and for being a part of the Ninja Nation. We appreciate you so much. We look forward to seeing you in the next podcast. Take care.